Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf, which is Pesachim Samach Zayin. We are 6 lines from the bottom of Samach Vav and Beis. Actually, it's the first of the widest lines there. It says more Ashkechane Tamadu Pesach L'Dochu Shabbos. We've concluded yesterday that just as Tamid is brought even on Shabbos, we learn it from a pasuk. Oila Shabbos b'Shabbatoi al Oila Tamid, indicating that the Tamid will be brought even on Shabbos. We draw a parallel from there to Pesach using Gzeir Shava Meyado Meyadoi. Pesach as well will be brought on Shabbos. So that we know for a fact. Ashkechon Tamid of Pesach L'Dochu Shabbos. The Dochu Tumah Menolan. But how do we know that both Karbonis are Doicha even Tumah? Suppose Yisrael with Tamid, the Kehanim with Tamid. We bring the Pesach B'Tumah. We bring Karban Tamid B'Tumah. Rashi says this is a known fact. It's a given. How do we know that? Menola. Amri, they answered. Ki heichi di Yolaf Pesach mitamid Linin Shabbos. Just as we learned Pesach from Tamid with respect to Shabbos. Tamid is Deicha Shabbos. Pesach is Deicha Shabbos. Hachinami. The same thing will apply as well to Tumah. Yolaf Tamid Pesach Linin Tumah. We will learn Tamid from Pesach with respect to Tumah, just as a Korban Pesach is brought B'Tumah, Korban Tamid will be brought B'Tumah as well. Pesach Gufim Minolan, and Pesach itself, how do we know? If Yisrael are Tamei, they will proceed and bring the Korban Pesach even when they are Tamei. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, Ish, Ki Tamei lo nefesh. Torah says, if an individual will happen to be Tamei lo nefesh, that's Tamei Meis, he cannot bring the Pesach Rishon, rather, he's pushed off to Pesach Sheni. We learn from here, this postponement only applies to an individual. Ish nitchila Pesach Sheni. If it applies to an individual, he can't bring Pesach Rishon, he has to bring Pesach Sheni. Ve'in tzibur nitchila Pesach Sheni. However, a tzibur, if the public, if the crowd became Tamei, Roiv of Yisrael Tamei, they won't be postponed, they won't be pushed off to Pesach Sheni. Ela avdi b'tumah, rather, they proceed and bring their Pesach Rishon even though it's b'tumah. So this is the makar, that Pesach is Deicha Tumah. And from here, we're going to draw a parallel to Korban Tamid as well. Presumably using that same Zera Shava, that Korban Tamid will also be brought b'tumah. Amar li Rab Shimon Lachish Rab Yochanan. Perhaps we can learn the pasuk a bit differently and come to a different conclusion. Ema, let's say as follows. Ish nitchila Pesach Sheni. An individual, he will get pushed off to Pesach Sheni. He has that option. Tzibur, however, if the tzibur was Tamei, they no longer have another option. Less lotakant. Why be Pesach Rishon? They can't bring Pesach Rishon because they're Tamei. Will they be Pesach Sheni? Nor can they bring Pesach Sheni. So certainly the pasuk is speaking about an individual, but perhaps the tzibur is more chamer than a yachid. Once they can't bring Pesach Rishon, they don't have a Pesach Sheni option. That was specific to a yachid, not to a tzibur. So how do you know from here that a tzibur will bring their Korban Pesach B'Tumah? If they're Tamei, perhaps they can't bring anything. Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. Ella Omar Reb Shimon Lachish Mihacha. Rather, he says, we're going to learn this halacha from the following pasuk. And we're going to prove from here that a tzibur can bring their Korban Pesach B'Tumah. The pasuk says, Vishalchu min ha-machne. They meant to send away all these tmeim from the machne, from the Beis Hamikdash. Called Sorua, whether it's a Metzora, V'chol Zav, V'chol Tamei L'Nefesh, or a person who became Tamei Meis. The question is, why does the pasuk have to go through this entire list? Yoimar Tamei Meisen. We simply could have spoken about the Tamei Meis, which is the more lenient form of Tumah, relative to Zav and Metzora, which are self-generated Tumahs. Tamei Meis receives this Tumah from an external source. So he's a more lenient, a less severe type of Tamei. The Torah could simply referenced him, send him away from the Beis Hamikdash, without discussing the other types of Tmeim. I'll simply conclude on my own. If a Tmei Meis needs to be sent away, despite the fact that he doesn't have such a severe Tumah, he received this Tumah from an external source. Of course, the other ones will have to be sent away. So why does the Torah have to go through the entire list? The pasuk here is indicating there is a point in history, a point in time, Shezavan and Mitzvah Nishtalchen, that these different types of Tmeim have different halachas. There is a point in time, there is a situation when a Zavan and Mitzvah need to be sent away. Ve'ei Tmei Mesim Nishtalchen, but not the Tmei Mesim. So that's why we have to list them all. Because sometimes it applies to one, not to the other. When do we have a situation where Tmei Meis remains in the Beis HaMikdash and a Zav Mitzvah needs to be sent out? Ve'ezeh, ze Pesach haba b'tumah. When Rav Yisrael Tmei Meis, they bring the Korban Pesach b'tumah, so Tmei Meis remains inside the Beis HaMikdash. But the Zav and Mitzvah, who are different types of Tmei, they're self-generated tumah, they have to be sent away. So we have a makar, that there is a concept of Pesach haba b'tumah. Says Rashi on top, Elo yesh l'chashosh hazav and Mitzvah mishtalchen min azara. We have a time where the Zav and Mitzvah need to be sent away. But the Tmei Meis belongs in there. When is that? Pesach haba b'tumah. When most of Klal Yisrael Tmei Meis, they proceed, they do their Pesach b'tumah. But this doesn't apply to the Zav and Mitzvah. The Zav and Mitzvah, they get pushed away and pushed off to Pesach Sheni. So according to Rav Shimon Lakish, this pasuk is a makar that Pesach will be brought b'tumah. Amar Abai, he disagrees with Shimon Lakish's makar, because according to this diuk, according to this approach, we actually can conclude and come to a maskana and derive an erroneous halacha as well. Amar Abai, ihachi. If this is how you're going to approach this pasuk, leima nami, we can also say as follows. The pasuk had 3 in its list: Tmei Meis, Zav and Mitzvah. Yoymar Zav u'Tmei Meisim. The pasuk could have said Zav and Tmei Meisim. Val Yoymar Mitzvah, and not discuss Mitzvah, which is the most severe type of tumah relative to Zav and Tmei Meis. The more we'll discuss later. So why does it have to go through all 3 of them? Vani Yoymar. It should have just said Zav and Tmei Meis, but I would just conclude on my own. Zav mishtaleach, Mitzvah lo kolshkin. If a Zav gets sent out, certainly a Mitzvah. So why does the Torah have to go through all 3? Ella, yesh l'chasha, shemitzvah nishtalchen. So perhaps we should conclude as follows. This is similar to Shimon Lakish's approach, but it's a little bit different, a little bit of a different version. He's focusing on the fact that the Torah listed Mitzvah as well. Says Abai, the Torah could have said Tmei Meis and Zav, and we will know Mitzvah on our own. Let's apply the same formula as the Shimon Lakish applied. Apparently, there's a point in history, that a Mitzvah needs to be sent out. It doesn't belong to the Azorah. But the less severe form of Tumah, Tmei Meis and Zav, will not be sent out. When is that? Ze Pesach wa b'tumah. Right? Apparently we're speaking about a Pesach which will be brought b'tumah. And in that case, the Tmei Meis and the Zav can take part, but not the Mitzvah. Is that the point of the pasuk? And that's why it lists Mitzvah as well, to indicate that Mitzvah is in a different class. At times the Tmei Meis and the Zav belong there, but not the Mitzvah. Do you think that that's the case? That during the Pesach, which is Ba B'tumah, not only the Tmei Meis can take part, but also the Zav. The Mitzvah is precluded, but the Zav can take part. Is that so? It's actually not true. Do you think that's so? But now we learned in the Mishnah, Pesach Ba B'tumah. When the Pesach is brought B'tumah, it's specific to Tmei Meis, etc., but not the Zav and the Mitzvah. These self-generated Tmeim who created the Tumah is sourced in their own guf. They can't take part in the Korban Pesach b'Tumah. So if they ate their pot, but they can't take part in this type of Korban Pesach. So Abaye is disputing Reb Shimon Lakish's diuk, because according to your formula, we're going to conclude an erroneous halacha. We're going to conclude that during the Pesach of B'tumah, the Zav and Tmei Meis can take part, but not the Mitzvah, which is not true. Apparently he says the first approach, the first pasuk of Rabbi Yehuda is the correct approach. The pasuk said, Ish ki yatamid lenefesh, indicating that this halacha applies to an individual. He cannot do Pesach Rishon, but the tzibur can do Pesach Rishon B'tumah. That was Rabbi Yochanan's approach. The kasha on that was, perhaps, there's a difference between a Yachid and a tzibur, but l'chumra, a tzibur cannot do even Pesach. A tzibur cannot even do Pesach Sheni once they were tamei. If they're tamei, they can't do Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. Perhaps that's the pshat in the pasuk. A tzibur is different than a Yachid, but l'chumra. That was the kasha of Rabbi Yehuda. Says Abai, I'm going to prove that a tzibur has more privileges than a Yachid. When the Torah is differentiated between a tzibur and a Yachid, it's to give them additional rights, additional privileges. Why? Im kain, if that's the case, that the tzibur is more chamer, and when they're tamei, they can't bring Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. Im kain nichtav rachmana ish ki tamei. The pasuk could have simply said, if a ish will be tamei, and from there you can conclude, well, when a yachid is tamei, he can't bring Pesach Rishon, but he can bring Pesach Sheni. But when a tzibur are tamei, they can't bring Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. L'nefesh lamali. But why does the pasuk have to add that the yachid is tamei l'nefesh, which sets the tmei mace apart from everything else? What's the point of that? Apparently, the Torah is coming to tell you that a tzibur is more kal than a yachid. A yachid who is tamei cannot bring Pesach Rishon, but a tzibur who is tamei can bring Pesach Rishon B'tumah. But this only applies to a tmei l'nefesh, as we said earlier, because a zav, a metzora, they cannot take part in the Pesach Rishon haba B'tumah. When the tzibur are tmei nefesh, the tmei nefesh can take part, but not the zav and the metzora. So the fact that the Torah added tmei l'nefesh, that indicates that the Torah is trying to teach us that a tzibur which is tmei nefesh, they can bring the Pesach Rishon B'tumah. They have privileges. The tzibur is different than the yachid. They have more rights. But this only applies to a tmei nefesh. A zav and metzora who are self-generated tmei, they can't take part. So this is a raya that the point of the pasuk is to teach us that a tzibur can bring the Pesach Rishon B'tumah. V'chi tema says, well, 1 second, maybe we'll learn it a bit differently. V'chi tema ala nefesh lo chidasa. Perhaps, no. Let's go back to the original kasha. Maybe when the Torah says that the yachid is tamei, the Torah is telling you the yachid can bring a Pesach Sheni. But the tzibur who are tamei during Pesach Rishon, they can't bring Pesach Rishon, they cannot bring Pesach Sheni as well. Why does the pasuk speak about tamei l'nefesh? Perhaps v'chitei mahal l'nefesh lochi de'asa. It's coming to teach us the following halach: that even when a yachid who cannot bring Pesach Rishon but can bring Pesach Sheni, this only applies to a tmei nefesh. Ha-tamei meis hu denitchel Pesach Sheni. He has the second option, a Pesach Sheni option. Aval shar tmeim loy. But perhaps a zav and metzora, a yachid, zav, a yachid metzora, who cannot bring Pesach Rishon, cannot even bring Pesach Sheni. That's the point of speaking about tamei l'nefesh. Aval shar tmeim loy. But that's not true. V'atani, we learned in the brayso. Yachol lo yehu oisen Pesach Sheni. Perhaps Pesach Sheni rights only apply a l'tmei mason. Shayib derech choyka. If he's a tmei mason during the time of the Pesach, or he was on a trip far away, perhaps these fellows have the Pesach Sheni option. But Zavin, Umetzayroin, Ubay Alanida is one who live with Anida, all these types of Tmeim. Minayin, how do you know that they also are included in this Pesach Sheni option? Tamalemi Ish Ish. Torah begins by saying Ish Ish, which indicates all types of Tmeim. So it's very clear that the Pesach Sheni option was granted to all types of Tmeim. If there's an individual who could not bring the Pesach Rishon for whatever reason, whether he was tamei meis, a zav, a metzora, he still has Pesach Sheni option. So l'nefesh is because Rahman Alamali. So why didn't the Torah stress that we're speaking about a tamei nefesh? Ela hachikamar. Apparently, the correct approach is Rabbi Yochanan's approach. Ish nitchel Pesach Sheni. Ish ki tamei nefesh teaches us that if it's an individual, he cannot bring Pesach Rishon, he must bring Pesach Sheni. But a collective crowd, an olam, a tzibur, They don't have to wait to Pesach Sheni. El Avdi Betuma. They can bring the Karm Rishon Betuma. The reason why the Torah speaks about Lenefesh is to teach you. V'chi Avdi Tzibur Betuma. Yeah, and even when the Tzibur brings the Karm Pesach Betuma, Betmei Meis only applies to a Tmei Meis who received his Tumah from an external source. It's not such a severe form of Tumah. Avol Shar Tumas Le'avdi. But other types of Tmeim, such as the Zav, the Metzora, where the Tumah is self-generated, it's Tumah Yetzim Megufay, they cannot take part even in the Pesach Haba B'Tumah. So in conclusion, we looked for a source that a Tzibur will bring their Karm Pesach B'Tumah. We have Rabbi Yechanan, Ish ki yatamel lenefesh. He needs to bring Pesach Sheni, but a Tzibur can bring the Pesach Rishon B'Tumah, Rishon Malakish. The fact that the Torah gave us an extensive list of all those individuals who need to be sent out of the Beis HaMikdash, the Tamei Meis, the Zav, and the Mitzvah, which indicates that perhaps there is a time that a Tamei Meis will be left inside, but the other one sent out. Abaye didn't like that pshat because it's going to bring us to a mistaken conclusion that even a Zav can take part in the Pesach B'Tumah, which is incorrect. Therefore, he says the correct approach seems to be Rabbi Yechanan's. Only an Ish cannot do the Pesach Rishon. He must do Pesach Sheni, but a Tzibur can do Pesach Rishon. But you meant to know, this doesn't apply to the Zav and the Metzora, who are Tumah Hayotzei Megufa. Amar Rav Chisda, Metzora shenichnas lefnim imchitzasei pat. We know that there are three machnes. For instance, in the Mishkan there was a machne Shechina, the actual Mishkan. There was the machne Levia, which camped around, the Levim who camped around the Mishkan. That was a step lower in its Kedusha status. And then we had the Machne Yisrael, which was the outer ring. So we have three categories of Machnes, three separate levels of Kedusha. And we have three different classes of Tmeim, which correspond to those Machnes. Need to be sent out of those Machnes. The Pasuk says, V'yishalchum an Machne. As we learned before, you have to send away the Tamei Meis, the Zav and the Metzora. But each one has to be sent out to a different area. Each one has its own territory. For instance, the Tamei Meis or the Tamei Sheretz, they don't belong in the Mishkan. They need to be sent beyond the Mishkan, into the Machna Levia. So they have to be sent out out of one Machna, into Machna Levia. We have the Zav, who occupies the Machna Yisrael because he's a more severe form of Tamei. He doesn't belong to the Machna Levia. He has to go out to Machna Yisrael. Then we have the Metzora, which is the worst of all. He sits outside the cities, outside the Machne Yisrael. Says Rav Chisda, suppose a Metzora wanders in, goes back inside, beyond his boundary, goes into the city, to the Machne Yisrael. Allah is not meant to do that. Potter, there's no malchus applied. Shenemar, Bodad Yeshev Mechutz L'Machne Moishavai. The Pasuk says he meant to sit on his own outside the Machne. By telling us that the Metzora, throughout his entire experience, Kol Yemei Asher Hanega Boy, Bodad Yeshev Mechutz L'Machne Moishavai. The Torah is teaching you that although there's a lav, all these Timei are not meant to be found in the Machnes. They're not meant to be mitzvah the Machnes. Technically, there should be malchus applied, but since the Torah is telling us that this is a continuous assay, mitzvah assay, throughout his nega experience, you meant to stay outside, hakosam nitkel assay. Torah connected it to an essay. We know that a lav which is associated with an essay, a lav hanitkel assay, doesn't generate malchus. So though he's not allowed to come back inside, but if he does so, there's no malchus applied. Because we have this extra pasuk, which tells us, mechutz l'machne meishavai, it's a continuous instruct to the Metzora. Get out. Go out. So the Torah is telling you that we're turning this into a mitzvah essay. Eisve, Rebbe Kashmar Brisa, where we find that a Metzora comes back in, gets malchus. Metzora shenichas l'fnim chitzasai. If he goes beyond his boundary, beyond his partition, he comes back into the city, be'arboim, he gets malchus. Same thing applies to other Tmeim, Zavin v'Zavais. Shenichasu l'fnim chitzasam, they come beyond their boundary. So for them, it means that they came into the Machne Livia, Be'arboim, they get Malchus. V'Tamei Meis, however, he's the most lenient form, less severe of all the Tmeim, Mutar l'konos l'machna levia. He can go into the machna Levi. He just has to keep out of the machna Shechina, which is machna number 1. He can stay in machna number 2. The Zav and Mitzvah need to stay in machna number 3, which is the machna Yisrael, and the Mitzvah are beyond all the machnas. He can remain in the machna Levim, which surround the Mishkan. And by the way, when it comes to the Yerushalayim, so the actual building of the Beis HaMikdash is the machna Shechina. The Harabayis surrounding it is considered the machna Levi, where a Tmei Meis can find himself, a Zav and Mitzvah are not. And the city of Yerushalayim is considered machna Yisrael, so Zav can be found there, but the Mitzvah has to go beyond the Machna Yisrael. It needs to be outside, dwell outside the cities of Klal Yisrael. So again, with Tmei Meis, Mutar l'konos l'machna Levia, the Tmei Meis may reside in the Harabayis, v'lo Tmei Meis b'levad amru. Not only a person who became tummy by contact with a Meis, ela afilu Meis atzma, even the Meis itself, can be in the Harabayis, in the Machna Levi, shenemar, v'yikach Moshe, es atzmos Yosef imoy. Moshe transported the bones of Yosef with him. It was with him in his boundary, in his partition, in his machna Levi. In any case, we see that a Mitzvah who wandered into the city gets malchus. In contrast, with Rav Chia who says that he's pot. Tanoi, it's based on a machlokes Tanoi. There's one Tana that holds that the Issa of Mitzvah to be found in the city is a ordinary standard lav which generates malchus, whereas the other Tana says, no, we have an extra pasuk to teach us that it's turned into a sort of essay, a lavanitic essay, and there's no malchus applied. The Sani, Bodod Yeshiv. This is the Mitzvah. He's meant to stay on his own, to dwell on his own in solitude. Levada Yeshiv. He's meant to sit on his own. Shelo yutmein achirim yoishvin imoy. This pasuk teaches us that the other tmeim, such as the Zav, the Tamei Meis, they don't spend their time with him. They're not to be found in the same place as him. Why? Because the Mitzvah has his own area, his own territory. He's beyond the cities. Whereas the other types of Tmeim, they don't have to go that far. So we know that a Mitzvah occupies his own territory. He's beyond the city. But perhaps the Zav and the Tamei Meis need to be in the same place. We regard them as the same type of class of Tumah. They have to be in the same area. Yochel, you Zav and Tmei Meis mishtachel machna achas. They're meant to remain in the same place. Talmud loyver, no. A Zav has his own place, and a Tamei Meis his own place. The Zav needs to be in the city. He can't be in the Harabayis. Where Tmei Meis can be even in the Harabayis. Talmud loyver v'lei tamas machneim. They're not meant to be metame their machnes. It's a lashon rabim. What does that teach us? That each one has its own specific territory. Litein machne lazeh u'machne lazeh. We're meant to grant a specific location and territory and boundary for each individual type of tumah. Rabbi Yehuda. So this teaches us that, once again, we have 3 classes of tumah. A Tamei Meis who's the least severe, he can't be in the Beis HaMikdash, but he can be in the Harabayis, the Machna Levi. The Zav must be sent beyond that into the Machna Yisrael, and the Mitzvah beyond the Machna Yisrael out in the wilderness. The Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, he needs the pasuk. He uses that pasuk of Bodod Yeshev Mechutz LaMachna Moishavei simply to teach us where the Mitzvah is meant to be situated, and therefore it's unavailable to teach us that it's a lavanitic laseh to remove the malchus aspect. Reb Shimon Omer, he has a different pasuk to teach us that Tamei Meis, Zav and Mitzvah receive their own places, their own designated places, and therefore, according to him, the other pasuk of Bodod Yeshiv Mechutz LaMachna Moishavei is available to teach us that a Mitzvah is part of a malchus. Reb Shimon Omer ain't a tzorich. We don't need to learn this halacha from the pasuk that you mentioned. We have a very straightforward pasuk, which says like this. This is the pasuk we mentioned earlier. Torah says, send away from the machna all these individuals. Tamei Meis, Zav, Mitzvah. Now we know that we're dealing with different levels. So why speak about all of them? Yoimar Tamei Meis. The pasuk could have simply spoke about the people who are Tamei Meis, which are relatively lighter than Zav and Mitzvah. Val Yomer Tamei Zav, without discussing Tamei Zav. Val Yomer, I'll simply conclude on my own. Tamei Meis and Mishtalchen. If the Tamei Meis must be sent out of the Machne, Zav and Lakoshke, then of course it's Zav. Why speak about a zav? A zav is more severe than a tummy meis, a self-generated tumah. Why discuss it? Apparently, the Torah here is indicating liten loy machneshnia. The zav has his own designated area, whereas the tummy meis needs to leave the Beis Hamikdash, but can find himself in the Harabayis. A zav must go beyond that, beyond the Harabayis into the Machne Yisrael. So this very pasuk tells us that each type of tummy receives his own territory. Continues Rabbi Shimon. What about Mitzorah? V'yomer zav, v'yomer Mitzorah. The same thing could be said regarding Mitzorah. The Torah could have simply said, send away the tummy meis, send away the zav. Why mention Mitzorah? I'll simply conclude. Zav and mishtalchen, Mitzorah and the koshkin, if a zav is sent away. Certainly a Mitzorah, which is more chamer. The Gemara will tell us that a Mitzorah has additional halachas that a zav doesn't have. He must let his hair grow, tear his clothing. So Mitzorah certainly has to be sent out of the Machne. Why do you have to list Mitzorah together with Zav? If Zav is sent, certainly Mitzorah. Lo menemer Mitzorah. Apparently, it's liten loy Machne shlishis, to indicate that the Mitzorah is meant to remain in his place, a third area. The Zav can stay in the Machne Yisrael, but the Mitzorah has to go beyond that. So it's this very pasuk, of Yishalchem and Machne, which already teaches everything. That we have three different levels of tumah corresponding to the three machnes. Now we have that additional pasuk which is now available. Kishu Eimer Boded Yeshiv. Mechus LaMachne Moishavai, that pasuk on Mitzorah, which is unnecessary. We already know that a Mitzorah has his own place. He's beyond the Machne Yisrael. He's on his own. Why does the Torah have to repeat itself? Hakosav Nitkelase. It's in order to turn it into a lava Nitkelase, which takes away the Malchus aspect. So in short, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this Mitzorah who comes back in gets Malchus, because it's not a lava Nitkelase, whereas according to Rabbi Shimon, this pasuk is available to turn it into a lava Nitkelase, and a Mitzorah who comes back in is part of a Malchus. So Rabbi Shimon mentioned that the list seems to be superfluous, because once we have Tummy Meis, who's the lightest form of Tumah, and needs to be sent out, of course there's Zav, who is more Chomer. The more analyze the Bryce. My Chomer the Zav Tummy Meis. In what way is a Zav more Chomer than a Tummy Meis? Shekain Tumah Yoitzel of Megufay, because it's a self-generated Tumah, as opposed to a Tummy Meis who receives this Tumah from elsewhere. Adrab, just the opposite. Tummy Meis Chomer, we actually find a Chomer by Tummy Meis. Shekain Zon Hazah Shlishi Shvi. The Tummy Meis is unique in the sense that he has to have a Zav on the Ephah Paradum on the third and seventh day, which a Zav doesn't have. So perhaps actually a Tummy Meis is more Chomer than a Zav. Amakra, Tummy v'chol Tummy. But let's take a look at that pasuk. V'yishalchem v'namachne. And the pasuk says, v'chol Tummy l'nefesh. What's the point of a v'chol? V'chol Tummy is coming l'rabbi's Tummy sheretz. Not only a Tummy Meis, but even a Tummy sheretz needs to be sent out. Now, since the Torah is referencing a Tummy sheretz as well, in that sense, certainly a Zav is Mochamer, because a Tummy sheretz, touched a dead lizard, doesn't have to have a Zav over Paraduma. So with respect to a Tummy sheretz, certainly the Zav Chomer mit Tummy sheretz. In contrast to a Tummy sheretz, a Zav is definitely more Chomer, because the Tummy sheretz doesn't have the Hazah. So a Zav, which is Tumah Yotzim Megufay, is more Chomer. Why does the Torah have to mention Zav once it already made reference to a Tummy sheretz? Umay Chumrei. In what way is a Zav more Chomer than Tummy sheretz? Kedamar, as we said, because it's a Tumah Yotzim Megufay. Adrabah, just the opposite. Sheretz Chomer. Why? Shegem b'tamei b'oinus. Because in contrast to a Zav, who notices this emission of liquid, this cloudy liquid, he is Tamei, but provided that it's a natural occurrence, it's not be'oinus, due to an unnatural phenomenon, Rashi says, they overate, etc., or physical exertion which brought about the re'i of the zoif. A zav is not matame be'oinus, so he has that kula as opposed to a sheretz. If the person touched a sheretz, even be'oinus, I guess, well, he's tamei. So sheretz is chamer than a zav. Why are you working with the assumption that a zav is more chamer? We actually find a chamer by sheretz. The oinus is matame by sheretz and not by zav. Amri, they answered like this. Because if we're comparing sheretz to zav, now sheretz is only a one-day tumah. You meant to know that in the context of Tumas Ziva, we have several phases. We have the actual Zav, the full-fledged Zav. If the person had 2 emissions, 2 Re'iyas, his tummy 7 days. But if he only had 1 Re'iyah, one siding generates a 1-day Tumah. So now in the context of the Tumas Sheretz that we're speaking about, we're comparing Sheretz to Zav. Tumas Sheretz is only a 1-day Tumah. We find that aspect in Tumas Zav as well. If he only sees 1 time, he's Tumah a 1-day Tumah. If we compare the 1-day Tumah found by Zav to the 1-day Tumah found by Sheretz, there's no advantage to Sheretz over Zav. Why? Ki Aigavna, this type of Tumah, Zav Nami Tumuyim Matami Ba'onis. When it comes to the 1-day Tumah found by Zav, which is as a result of just 1 Re'iyah, Oines will be Matamim as well. This Petur of Oines only applies to the subsequent Re'iyahs, but the initial Re'iyah of the Zav is Matamim Ba'onis as well. So in the context of the 1-day Tumah found by Sheretz and by Zav, touching your Sheretz generates a 1-day Tumah, and seeing 1 Re'iyah of Zav which generates a 1-day Tumah, there's no advantage to Sheretz over Zav, because in both cases there's a Tumas Oines. Regarding the first Re'iyah of the Zav, Matama Ba'onis. So once that's known, then there's no advantage to Sheretz over Zav in the context of a 1-day Tumah. Rather, Zav is Mochamer because it's a Tumah Yetzim Megufa, it's a self-generated Tumah. That explains Rav Shimon's contention earlier. Why speak about Sheretz and Zav? Once we know Sheretz is Tameh, certainly Zav, which is a self-generated Tumah Yetzim Megufa. That explains the first part of the Bryce. The Bryce proceeded. Once we discussed Zav, why discuss Mitzorah, which is more Chomer? Then we'll analyze that as well. My Chomer the Mitzorah is Zav. In what way is Mitzorah more Chomer than Zav? Says the Gemara, Shekein Ton Priya Uprima. Mitzorah has to let his hair grow, that's Priya. Prima has to tear his clothing. V'asa b'tasha shamita. So these 3, with respect to these 3 things, a Mitzorah is more Chomer than a Zav. So once we know Zav needs to be sent out of the Beis HaMikdash, so only a Mitzorah. Says the more Adrab, if anything, just the opposite. We find the Chomer by Zav. Zav Chomer from Mitzorah. Why? Shekei Matamim Mishkav Moshev. Rashi explains that a Zav who lies on something, Mishkav, Moshev, he sits on something. This Mishkav, this Moshev here, is an Avatuma to the extent that if a person touches it, not only is the person tummy, but his b'gadim that he's wearing become tummy. This is something unique to the Zav, and Mitzorah doesn't have this. What else does Zav have over Mitzorah? Umatami klicheres behesed. So generally, if a person touches a klicheres, a earthenware kli from the outside, it's not matame the kli, but a Zav who moves the klicheres will make it tummy. So these things are unique, specific to Zav. A Zav has chumras over Mitzorah. Why are you working with the notion that a Mitzorah is mochamer? We actually find chumra is by a Zav over Mitzorah. Says the Gemara similar to before, Omakra, but the pasuk says, "V'yishalchu namachne v'chol Zav." Instead of just saying Zav, Omakra Zav v'chol Zav, it adds the word v'chol, which is coming to add not only a Zav, but a Baal Keri as well. He had a different type of Re'iyah. He noticed a clear liquid. So Rashi says a Ziva is a cloudy liquid, Baal Keri is a clear liquid, a different type of experience. And the Torah is including him as well. You're required to send him out of the mach. The Chol Zav is coming to L'Rabbi's Baal Keri. So once we're speaking about the context of a Baal Keri here, within this context, the comparison to Mitzorah is definitely in favor of Mitzorah, because a Baal Keri doesn't have the Chomer of the Mishkav of the Moshev like the Zav. So comparing Mitzorah to Baal Keri, certainly Mitzorah has the upper hand. Mitzorah Chomer and Baal Keri. In what way? Umay Chumri, what is the Chomer to Mitzorah? Kedamar, as we said, he has Priya, has Primas, has Tashamita, which Baal Keri doesn't have. So sure, perhaps when you're comparing Zav to Mitzorah, not necessarily as Mitzorah Mochamer, but the Torah here is including Baal Keri as well. And certainly, a Mitzorah is Mochamer to Baal Keri. Adrabah, just the opposite, Baal Keri Chomer. We find a Chomer by Baal Keri over Mitzorah. In what way? Shekei Matami b'mashu. The tomb of Baal Keri applies even to just a drop of the Keri, as opposed to a Mitzorah. We know there's a shear of grist. The nega has to be the size of a beam. So this is a mila, an advantage, a chumrah that Balkari has over Mitzvah. Says the Gemara, not necessarily. Why? Apparently Rav Shimon follows Rav Nassan Shita, that a Balkari also has a shear. It's not just a mashu. Desani, Rav Nassan, I remember Shur Bishmon. Zav, tzarech kachasimas piyam. How much ziva does a zav have to see to become tummy? Enough liquid that plugs up the opening of the aver. So it's not a mashu, it's more that there's a certain shear there. Chacham disagreed. Now what pertains to us is as follows. V'iskish le'bal keri le'zav. We have a hekish from zav to balkeri. Rashi brings up sukkim there. And just as a zav has a shear of how much ziva he needs to see to become tummy, balkeri as well. So you see that a balkeri is not matami mashu, which leaves mitzvah with the upper hand. So mitzvah has those chumras that he has priya, prima, tashashamita, and balkeri doesn't have anything, any advantages over mitzvah. So once the Torah speaks about a balkeri being sent out, certainly a mitzvah is meant to be sent out. And that leads us to the conclusion, says Rav Shimon, that Torah is indicating. But why mention all three? To teach us that each one has his own specific, unique, designated place, his own territory, where he has to remain during his tumah. Concludes the Gemara with one more thing. We said the word koil is coming to be marbe. So kol tamei meis is going to be marbe the tamei sheretz, kol zav the balkeri. What about v'chol tzarua lomali? What's the point of the word v'chol by tzaras? What do we come to include there? Says the Gemara, nothing. I did chsiv kol zav on account of the Torah saying kol zav. Chsiv nami kol tzarua. Torah also applied a similar wording by tzarua, even though we're not coming to include anything. So in conclusion, we have Rav Shimon, who says, well, why does the pasuk have to give us a list? Apparently each one has his own place to be. Which leaves the pasuk, that separate pasuk by Mitzvah of Kol Yimei Asher Nega Boy, Badad Yeshev, Mechas Namachal Meishaveh, to teach us that the Mitzvah's requirement is really based on an essay, a lavanitical essay, which removes the Malkas aspect. And that's Rav Shimon's approach. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees because he uses that pasuk to teach us where the Mitzvah is meant to stay. Says the Gemara, why couldn't Rabbi Yehuda simply go along with Rav Shimon? Rabbi Yehuda, Shapir, come Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon seems to be speaking correctly. How does Rabbi Yehuda respond to Rabbi Shimon's presentation? Rabbi Shimon's kasha. Why does the pasuk have to say once we speak about the tamei nefesh, leave everybody else alone? It's self-understood. Apparently that pasuk is coming to teach us each one has his own territory. What does Rabbi Yehuda do with that pasuk? Rabbi Yehuda, Shapir, come Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda needs that pasuk to teach us another halach. Look at this one. And the pasuk here is bundling together the three types of tmeim to teach us. They are interdependent. Rabbi Zoymer. When we have a korban Pesach which is brought b'tumah, we learned earlier, this only applies to the tmeim that are not self-generated tmeim, such as the zav and the mitzvah. So they're not meant to take part in the korban Pesach. However, suppose they insisted, they forced their way into the azor, the zav and the mitzvah. Are they chayiv karas, which is a general oynish for a person who is tamid, who finds himself into the azor, finds his way into the azor? Perhaps this applies even when Klal Yisrael is involved in processing a Pesach b'tumah. Perhaps in the case where this zav and the mitzvah forced their way into the azor. But Pesach b'tumah, when Yisrael were involved in doing the Pesach b'tumah, although they're not meant to be there, and perhaps they get kars. No. The Torah is binding them together. The three different classes of tamei nefesh, the zav and the mitzvah, to teach us. They are dependent one another. The b'shosha tamei mesim mishtalchim, when the tamei mesim are sent away, during your ordinary, your typical time, zav and mitzvah are nishtalchim, then those types of tamei must be sent away. And if they don't, they get curse. Ein tamei mesim mishtalchim. But in a time where they're doing the korban Pesach b'tumah, and the tamei mesim are filling the azara, in that case, ein zav and mitzvah mishtalchin, there's a certain leniency to the fact that if the Zav and the Metzora happen to find themselves in the Azar, they're not meant to come in, but if they happen to find themselves there, there's no curse involved. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, this pasuk is simply coming to teach us this halacha, and is unavailable to teach us that each type of tamei belongs in his own territory. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda has to go seek another pasuk to teach us that the Zav is meant to be in his own place, the tamei mace in his own place, and the Metzora in his own place. And for Metzora, he uses that pasuk of Mechutz L'Machna Shavai to teach us, well, he's meant to remain out of the entire area, on his own, out of the Machna Yisrael, out of the city. And therefore, it's unavailable to turn the Isser into Lavet to Klasei, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, a Metzora who wanders his way back into the city, he will get Malchus. Okay, let's summarize the Gemara thus far. We have two shittas, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. They're both going to conclude in a very similar fashion. We have the Machne Shechina, we have the Machne Levi, the Machne Yisrael. We have three different types of categories of Tmei, which correspond to the different Machnes. The Tamei Meis, he's meant to be sent out of the Machne Shechina. He can be found in the Machne Levi. And the Gemara says that Kol Tamei Meis, including Tamei Sheretz as well, who has the same halach. A Zav, he must be sent away from the Machne Levi as well. Rather, he's to be found in Machne Yisrael, and Kol, and the pasuk is coming to include the Balkari as well. The Metzora, he's outside all the Machnes. He's Badad Yeshev on his own. How do we know that this is the case? So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we have a pasuk which says Lo Yitamos Machaneim, which is coming to teach us Machaneihem, a Machne Lezeh, a Machne Lezeh. The Tmei Meis has his own Machne, which is the Machne Leviyah. The Zav has his own Machne, which is the Machne Yisrael. The pasuk that says Boded Yeshev Muchos L'Machne Moishaveh teaches us that a Metzora, he's on his own. He spoke Lashon Hara. He generates strife and this discord between people. He must remain on his own, lonely and in solitude until he does tshuva, and he's invited back into civilization. So he's meant to stay beyond the Machnes. What does it have to do with the pasuk which says Vishalchem and Machne and lists all three Tmeim? It's coming to teach us that all three types of Tmeim are interdependent, and when we have a Pesach which is Babet Tumah, in which case the Tmei Mesim belong in the Azara, in that case it's not so severe. If the Zav and the Metzora happen to find themselves in there as well, there's no curse. This is a reader's approach. According to Rabbi Shimon, we learn everything from the pasuk of Vishalchem and Machne, which gives us an extensive list. Kol Tamei L'Nefesh, teaching us that the Tmei Meis cannot be in the Mishkan, in the Beis HaMikdash. So he's meant to find himself in the Machne Leviyah. Now once we speak about the Tmei Nefesh, who's the lightest form of Tamei here? Why speak about the Zav, which is Tumah Yotzei Megufay, which is more severe? Apparently, a Zav must go beyond where the Tmei Meis goes. He must be beyond the Machne Levi into Machne Yisrael. Regarding the Tzarua, why does the Torah have to speak about a Tzaras, which is more Chomer? He needs Prima to Asur Tashamita. So once we speak about the Tmei Meis and the Zav, certainly we know that the Metzora needs to go out of the area. Apparently, he needs his own territory. He goes beyond Machne Yisrael. He's actually Chutz L'Gimel Machnes. So according to Reb Shimon, this pasuk on its own already teaches us that each type of Tamei dwells in his own specific area. Now, according to Reb Shimon, the pasuk that Yehuda used, Badad Yeshev Mechutz L'Machne Shavi, is available to teach us that this Isav Metzora is a lav. Lav is Lo Yitamas Machaneim, but it's nitek la'aseh, it's connected and related to an aseh. Mechutz L'Machne Shavi, meant to stay out. That mitzvah aseh removes the lav aspect. And therefore, Shimon says, a Metzora who finds his way back into town, although it's Asur, but he's pater from Malchus. Continues the Gemara. Omar Mar, so we just learned, Zav v'chol zav. The pasuk, instead of saying Zav, use the term v'chol zav, l'rabbeis balkeri, to teach us that not only is a Zav to be sent out of the Machne Leviyah, a Balkari as well. A Zav and Balkari are similar in this regard. regarding the halacha of shiluach machnes. Mesayele Rabbi Yehuda. This is right to Rabbi Yehuda, who also subscribed to this view that a Balkari, although he's not so severe like a Zav, Balkari can never have Tumah for 7 days. But when it comes to sending him out of the Machna, he stays together with the Zav in Machna Yisrael. Don't Rabbi Yehuda. He said 2 things. Number 1, Mechilos Koneskachu. The Mechilos, the tunnels underneath the Azara, were not sanctified. They don't have the same din as the Azara. So Rashi says that Rabbi Yehuda heard 2 halachas from his Rabbi, which are really unrelated. Number 1, Mechelis and Iskatru, that's number 1. Ubalkeri, and this is what pertains to us, Balkeri Mishtalei Chutz Shtei Machnes. That not only a Zav is sent beyond 2 Machnes, out of Machnes Shechina, out of Machnes Levia, a Balkeri as well is sent to that same area. Says the Gemara, Mesei, who would have a kash on this halach, Balkeri Kemagasheretz. Balkeri is not equated to a Zav. It says, oh, he touched the sheretz. My level of machanoisim. Should we not assume that the Brisa here is equating the Balkari to a maga sheretz with respect to where he's supposed to dwell? Just as a person who touches sheretz. Yeah, he can't be in the Beis HaMikdash, but he can be in the Harabais, in Machon Leviyah. A Balkari as well can be in Machon Leviyah. He's not equated to a Zav in this regard. The comparison is with respect to the severity of Tumah, not with respect to the Machnes. The Brisa is simply saying, just as a Maga Sheretz is a 1-day Tumah, it's called Tumas Erev, he's only tummy until evening. Balkari is only a 1-day Tumah. But with respect to where he's supposed to be situated, in that regard, he's like a Zav. Because it's a self-generated Tumah, and therefore, he's meant to be beyond Machon Leviyah. L'Tumasam. Is that what the Brisa is coming to tell us? That hey, Balkari is a 1-day Tumah? We know that from the Pasuk. Hi Tumas Erev Ksibei, Hi Tumas Erev Ksibei. Both the Tumas Sheretz, the Torah speaks about Tumas Erev. The Torah says the person touches Sheretz, he's tummy till evening. Hi Tumas Erev Ksibei. And this one as well, the person who experiences Shichas Zera, the Torah clearly says he's tummy till evening. So why does the Brisa have to come be machadash to us that a Balkari is like a Baal Sheretz and he's a tummy Tumas Erev? It's a pasuk. Elav Machanoisam. Apparently, the Brisa is coming to indicate that with respect to Machna, a Balkari is like a Maga Sheretz, and just as a Maga Sheretz can remain in the Harabais, a Balkari as well. So the Malay, no, La'olam L'Tumasam. Actually, the Brisa here is comparing the two with respect to the type of Tumah inherent in each one. V'kamashmon. Now, the Brisa is coming to teach us another aspect of its Tumah, another element which is not really clearly indicated in the pasuk. V'kamashmon the Balkari k'Maga Sheretz. In this respect, a Balkari is similar to Maga Sheretz. In which regard, Ma Maga Sheretz Matame Boinus. Just as a person who touched the Sheretz, it happens even Boinus. If a lizard jumped on him, a dead lizard, he's going to be tummy even against his will. Af Balkari Matame Boinus. Likewise, even if a Balkari should experience his Re'iyah Boinus, Rashi says, Kigoyin Roa Machmas Roiv Machal Mishta. As a result of overeating, overdrinking, he will experience that Re'iyah of a Balkari. He's still tummy. So that's what the Brisa is comparing. Of course, let's assume that a Balkari in a certain element is compared to a Zav, because it's a Tumah Yetzim Gufa, it's a self-generated Tumah, just as a Zav must go beyond the Machna Shechina and the Machna Leviyah. It has to reside in Machna Yisrael. The Balkari as well is similar in nature, and he has to be Machna Yisrael. With respect to the Tumah element, in that respect we compare Balkari to one who touched the Sheretz. Number 1, as the pasuk says, they're both only a 1-day Tumah, and number 2, with respect to Oinus, that just as the Sheretz is M'tameh B'Oinus, Balkari is M'tameh B'Oinus, but certainly, as we said, the Balkari must stay in Machna Yisrael, he must remain outside Machna Shechina, Machna Leviyah, just as the Brisa indicated that a Balkari is like a Zav, and like Rabbi Yehuda clearly told us that a Balkari is Mishtaleach Chutz L'Shtei Machnes. Let's take a quick review of today's daf. The Gemara began exploring the Mokar that occur on Pesach will be brought betuma if the tzibur is tummy. We have Rabbi Shimon Malachish's approach. The pasuk says, "Vishalchem and Amach," meant to send out the Tmei Meis, the Zav, the Mitzvah. Why speak about all of them? Why can't you simply state the more lighter form of Tumah, the Tmei Meis, and automatically we know the rest have to be sent out of the Machna as well? So Rish Lakish, the Torah here is indicating there's a point in history when the Tmei Meis isn't the Azara, when the Pesach is Baba Tumah, and in that case the Zav and the Mitzvah are sent out. So we have a raya that a Pesach is Baba Tumah. Rabbi didn't like the raya. He said it's going to lead to an erroneous conclusion. Rather, he favored Rabbi Yehuda's approach. The pasuk says, "Ish ki tamal lenefesh." An individual cannot do the Pesach Rishon, which indicates that a Rabbi Metzibur who are Tamei Meis, specifically Tmei Meis, they can do Pesach Rishon. The reason why the Torah says Tamei lenefesh, to teach us that this heter, that a Tzibur can bring a Pesach Tumah, only applies to a Tmei Meis, but not to the Zav and Metzora, who are self-generated Tmeim, Tumah Yetzim Megufay. They must wait till Pesach Shem. Then we proceeded with the halacha that a Tumah must not be found in the Machna. We have three different types of Tmeim, corresponding to three different Machnas. A Tamei Meis or Tamei Sheretz must leave the Machna Shechina, must remain in Machna Levi. A Zav, a Balkari, must leave the Machna Leviah, and remain in Machna Yisrael and Mitzvah, outside all the Machnas, outside the cities of Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Yehuda says, the pasuk says, "Tamas Machaneihem," indicating that each one, the Tamei Meis, has his own Machna, and the Zav has his own Machna. The pasuk that says, "Mechus l'Machna Meishavi," tells us that a Mitzvah remains on his own, outside all the Machnas. Rav Shimon says, we learn everything from the same pasuk, "Vishalchem and Amachne," which gives us this list of not only a Tmei Nefesh, but also a Zav and also a Mitzvah. Why? Why go through the entire list? Which indicates that each one has his own place to be a Tamei Nefesh. Outside the Machna Shechina, in the Machna Levi. The Zav, which is really more Chomer than Tmei Nefesh, it's a Tumah Yetzim Megufay. He's meant to be Machna Yisrael, whereas the Mitzvah, which is the more severe of all three, he's meant to be beyond all the Machnas. According to Reb Shimon, we have an extra pasuk by Mitzvah, Boded Yeshet, Uchus l'Machna Meishavei, which turns that lav, the lav of Lo Yitamas Machneim, into a lav Hanitik Lasei, and therefore if the Mitzvah finds himself back in the Machna Yisrael, although it's Aser, but there's no Malchus. We concluded that a Balkari has some similarity to a Zav, and some to a Maga Sheretz. In what way is he doime to a Zav? With regards to Machna. Because just as a Zav, which is a Tumah Yitzim Megufay, must remain in Machna Yisrael, he's sent beyond two Machnas, out of the Machna Shechina, out of the Machna Levi, into Machna Yisrael. Balkari as well has that same status. But when it comes to the duration of Tumah, he's compared to a Maga Sheretz. It's only a one-day Tumah. When it comes to the Oines aspect, he's compared to Maga Sheretz. Just as a person touches Sheretz against his will, he's Tumah. Likewise, a Balkari is also Metamei Oines. All the best and Hatzlacha Rabbi.